Hello everyone, I'm Brian and welcome back. Let's go ahead and get started.
By that. But what happens when a positive emotion reaches its extreme stage and ventures into a dark area? Like love can also transfer itself into obsession.
See, you are referring to… See, it's like this. Suppose you don't have legs, and if I say, come, dance, you say, no, I cannot even walk without my crutch. So I cannot walk without my crutch, or I cannot live without you, are not different. This is a very dangerous territory I'm entering.
Yeah.
But it is a fact, I cannot walk without a crutch or I cannot live without you is the same thing. Because you're misunderstanding your dependence and a certain relationship that you hold with somebody as love. Let's look at this thing of what is love. See, it's a certain blossoming within you. Now, who are you in your life? Who are you using as the menu? Phil.
Real quick, I didn't quite understand the analogy between the crutch and living without you. Maybe he made the point that the fact that they're dependent on someone or something. If that was the point, I got it. I thought there might have been more. I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Did you understand it? Did he mean more by that, or did he just mean dependency on something or someone?
See, this flower is fragrant not because somebody sprayed perfume to the roots. It is fragrant because somebody put filth to the roots, isn't it? So now you found a little flower within you of love. Who is your manure? Who is your filth? Now this is a dangerous territory for me to enter, with you also. But this is exactly what we are doing. Now the question is just this, whatever is the most pleasant emotion within you, are you capable of bringing it on by yourself, or are you in a dilapidated condition of technology that you are a push-start machine, that somebody has to push you, otherwise you cannot be? Your joy, your love, your peace, your ecstasy must be your making, isn't it?
Instead of someone else.
So,
From there I understood it to be the fact that you must be able to love someone because you love them and not because someone else is making you love them, in a sense.
now your love will become about sharing your joy, not squeezing joy out of somebody. Right now, most people's joy, most people's idea of a love affair is more like a mutual benefit scheme. You give me this, I'll give you that. You can't live without me, I can't live without you. They will make sure that
They're
the
dependent
other
on each
person
other.
also becomes invalid and cannot live without me. Yes, this is a very, very huge problem in the human societies. Love is not happening as a flowering. It is something that we are trying to suck out of somebody.
Oh, okay.
Love is not about somebody. I want you to know this. Maybe because you're a film personality, maybe you said you're not an actor, but there are many actors who are loved by people. People are drooling with ecstasy, simply looking at them. But the problem is they've never seen them. They've only seen that play of light and sound. They've never seen them, but they love them. So what I'm saying is, you're capable of loving somebody, that person may not exist, he may be animated, but you still love and you're experiencing all the fruits of love. I'm saying love is something that you do within yourself and blame it on somebody. You can do it by yourself. For a long time in this country, it's been there. There have been Mirabais and Tukarams and others, they taught you don't have to love and to be in an extreme state of love, you don't need anybody. You can simply do it by yourself, and not just in emotion. Even physical ecstasies happen to them simply because they are in a great love affair with someone who is not even here, all right? So, it is something that you do within yourself. Right now you're in love with somebody here, that somebody may not even know that you love them, but you can experience this, isn't it? You don't need the support from the other person. This is an experience that's happening within you. Love is within you. If you wish, it is not that it's sitting within you, there is no such thing. You are capable of variety of emotions. If you want, you can make it very sweet emotion. If you're in a very sweet state of emotion, people say, oh, he's very loving. You may not be loving in the real context of how they understand, but you are in a pleasant state of emotion, so naturally you do pleasant things, so people think you love them.
So make love an island, not a country.
No, no. Make love the universe, not an island. Because right now, when you say, I love you, this particular person, you only, when I look at these people, I look at them like this one person, this is an island love.
Yeah.
It is too discriminatory. This one face in this 10,000 faces I love, rest. Depressing looking at them. This is a very island love. I know you're in an island city, but it's time
To go beyond.
It's time that you understand love is a happening within you. Maybe somebody stimulated this, you're grateful to them that they ignited this within you, but love affair is yours, isn't it? It's an inner experience that's happening to you. Somebody is providing the stimulus, we are grateful to them that they are providing this. But they are not causing it, it's been caused from within. And once you understand this, why wouldn't you be walking on the street lovingly? Why won't you look at a tree lovingly? Why won't you look at a buffalo lovingly? Why won't you look at the cloud lovingly? Because it is not something that'll get over. Should I control it? Why? Will it get over? There's no such danger. It doesn't get over. In fact, almost everything that you experience, the more you exercise it, the more it's available to you. Whether it's your love or joy or hate or anger, the more you exercise it, the more it's available to you. Because it's after all your making. It's entirely your making. So when it's your making, why don't you enjoy it every moment of your life? Somebody is there, nobody is there, what is the problem?
Okay. Well, I thought originally he was talking about how love for, like, your wife, your girlfriend, or something like that, that different kind of love that you don't give to anyone else. Obviously, you can love a lot of other people, but there's a different kind of love for the significant other. And I thought he was asking about that, and perhaps he was, or maybe Sadhguru took it to the point of saying, why just love that one person when you can love everyone and everything? But then he took it back to that point at the end there where it's saying, actually let's go back real quick. Why don't you enjoy it every moment in your life? So why only have that love for one person, that special kind of love, when you can have that special kind of love for everyone? So basically, so that you're not so dependent on one person that it's you don't become codependent with that one person. You have that for everyone, and therefore you no longer have codependency on one person. Which, to a degree, I agree, but obviously there's still, in my opinion, that that little special love that you have for your significant other, that you don't necessarily do with anyone else.
Well, that brings me to, I think, I believe, the mother of a virus that plagues a large part of humanity is expectation. I have a simple theory that I try to expect less because then I feel I'll be disappointed less. And I feel to curtail your expectation is possibly the toughest thing to do, because we constantly expect from relationships, from the work we do.
You're just talking to the wrong guy about this expectation.
Yeah, I was going to say, well, for me, I've said this before, have low expectations. That way you're not going to be very disappointed. Like, if your expectations is high, the fall from your expectations to the bottom is very low, whereas it's that high where it's like a skydiving. But no, they say a little bit, constant expectation from relationship. And now I get that part though. There are people out there who date multiple people and they find out the best that they like from certain people, and when they say, I like this, I like this, I like this, I like this. So they pick one or two aspects from different people that they're dated, and then they match it up. It's like, okay, these are the things that I like. And these are very high expectations to expect from one individual. Is there someone out there like that? Yes. But how many of them are out there like that? Very low. So you kind of have to have a, I hate to say a compromise type of thing, but you can't expect everyone to have perfect 10s across the board in terms of whatever your expectations are. You have to find things that matter really the most to you, and have very few of those, and have realistic expectations on the rest. Otherwise, you're going to be alone forever. Or, yeah, whether that be a loving relationship, a friend's relationship, a business relationship, or whatever else it may be.
I have the highest expectation of every human being
good
on
Lord.
the planet.
Just got contradicted by Sadhguru. Oh, they'll
And I know they will disappoint me. I will die disappointed, but joyfully disappointed.
Now, joyful disappointment is a place, sir, that you've reached. But that is not an easy place to reach for most of us.
You see, these things are not like that. To be joyful or miserable is essentially your choice. It's a choice that you're making within yourself. Maybe it's an unconscious choice. Anything that you do unconsciously, right now unconsciously my hand can fly. But what I can do unconsciously, I can do the same thing definitely consciously also, isn't it? This is the fundamental difference between being human and every other creature. We are not doing anything different from what they're doing. We are doing the same things, but we do it little more consciously. Suddenly it's a different affair altogether. Same things, we eat, they sleep, we sleep, they reproduce, we reproduce, they die, we die. Only thing is, we are doing it little more consciously. Suddenly it looks like another world by itself. We think we are above them, only because we can do the same silly little things little more consciously. So, if I can move my hand unconsciously, I can also move it consciously. If I can become joyful unconsciously, I can also become joyful consciously. If I am joyful because of my choice, suppose disappointments are thrown at me, I will be joyfully disappointed. And my expectations of people are very, very high. I have an impossible expectation, so I know I will die joyfully, blissfully disappointed because I know the nature of the world very well. I'm not somebody who lives in fancy la-la land.
So, abundant love and no curtail on expectation.
Oh, see, love is not a quantity, it's a quality. It is not that if you do certain amount of things you're loving, there's no such thing. You can sit here, eyes closed, not look at anybody and still be loving, because it's essentially pleasantness of your emotion. How pleasant? I'm asking, is there any need to curtail pleasantness within you? Now I'm super pleasant, but if a child came, I might grab him and put him on my lap. If an adult comes, you don't do that. I'll do this, okay? A dog came, I'll just do this. But an adult comes, another person comes, you don't do this to them. I'm saying your expression will change from person to person, from relationship to relationship, what kind of intimacy and what kind of closeness you have with people. But does it mean to say that you should not do this with as much love as you hug somebody or kiss somebody? Should you not? Should you not do namaskaram with as much love as you hugged your child? Why not, I'm asking? Because there is no… See this, I'm trying to demolish the word abundance, because when you say abundance, there is also scarcity. There is no such thing It is neither abundant nor scarce. If you're willing, it's on. If you're not willing, it's off. That's all.
As simple as that.
I would say, I mean, I would have definitely gotten the love portion wrong in my answer. Abundance of love just means to do it with joy and to be loving, which I think that's what he meant. But I don't know. Sadhguru seemed to took that as a quantity, as opposed to just to be very loving. And I would have definitely got that wrong. I would have said abundance of love as well. But I would say in terms of the expectations, I would have said have a realistic expectations. Not to have no expectations, but to have a realistic expectations. And now what's realistic expectations? Good question. I think that's everyone for determine to themselves, because that applies to very specific situations. You don't want to have low expectation on a job that, someone's life mattered on it. You want to have high expectations for that. But to be, I don't know, someone to be your friend or something, don't have very high expectations. Don't expect them to be super proper or have certain leanings or whatever it may be. Get to know them. Have an expectation, be realistic about it, and get to know them.
Fundamentally, there is always a need for so many things, even when in your process, your professional process, or where you garner wealth or income, and you keep going. There's a need to constantly get more, than what you have. There's no satisfaction and a place to stop. Is there an end to need?
Let me go ahead and predict this one. Sadhguru's going to say, and this is my thoughts too, for the most part, is that while before watching this videos I would have said we're always going to be craving for more and more, and that's something I would have agreed with him on this before watching this videos, and because I've said to my coworkers that no matter how much money you make, you'll always want more. And that also would apply to a lot of other things in life. When you have a car, and all of a sudden you maybe want another car. If you have a house, maybe you want another house. If you have one pen, maybe you want another pen. Which I do have a lot of pens, actually. Prove my point. But now that after watching these videos, I've realized something that I've realized before that I can link together, which is the fact that is to be content with what you have. And I've never really linked that together until watching these videos, which, yes, to live life, you don't really need all these things. Kind of like Sadhguru's example about scientists, when they find the nucleus, now all of a sudden they want to find something smaller, which is the proton and neutron. All of a sudden they want to find something smaller, the electron, and then suddenly they want to find something smaller, which is, I don't know what it is. I can't remember. I don't know what is past that, because that's as far as my science went. But there's always a need to keep finding and finding and finding and finding. There's never an end to it, which is, I can see it being unsatisfying, but at the same time, it's quite an accomplishment and satisfying. Which I'm pretty sure Sadhguru would agree that, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, by all means, there's not to stop you from doing what you love. But whenever what you're doing is making you unhappy, which is the problem, and that's when you need to realize for yourself that, maybe something else different might be more important, or maybe realize that what you're doing is not the ultimate goal of your own happiness. Do what you do still, but realize that what you're doing may not give you happiness. I'm making a lot of assumptions there. Mind you that. But yes, you could, an example would be, for me, whenever I work at a job, I may not like the job, but I do it because it's expected of me, and two, because this was someone's dream. I'm not going to ruin someone else's dream because I don't like it. I chose to work at this job. So I'm not going to be necessarily unhappy, but how does it get with the needs? But I'm still going to do my job to the best of my ability because I chose it, and I realize that I'm the one that chose this ultimately, not the person that hired me.
No. There should not be an end.
Oh, what?
It is just that now that you're asking this question, in some way you have realized that at every point of your life you thought, this is it, if this one thing happens, I'm fulfilled. But the very next day you realize this is not it, there's one more thing and one
Yeah,
more
yeah,
thing.
yeah. That
And you
point-
know that after 10 years,
There's
still the
still-
same state will
yeah.
continue. So this means you're ready for yoga. This means you have understood that your longing is not for more, your longing is for all.
Oh, okay.
Your longing to expand is not just for more,
Sadhguru had
It
me
is
there for a second.
for all. Or in other words, your longing is in some way for infinite expansion. If you handle your infinite expansion unconsciously, and if it finds a very basic physical expression, we call this sexuality. What you're trying to do is, something that is not you, with physical contact, you're trying to make it a part of yourself. You know it doesn't work. If you try emotionally, we call this love. Emotionally, you're trying to include something which is not you as a part of yourself. This is your love affair. If you do it mentally, this gets labeled as greed, ambition, conquest, or simply shopping. If you do it consciously, then we call this yoga. Yoga means union. You're longing to expand infinitely, but because of little constipation in the head, you are going in installments. Can you go in installments and become infinite, I'm asking? Is it possible? Can you count 1, 2, 3, 4 and one day say infinity? No, you will only become endless counting. So your longing is not for this much or that much, your longing is for everything. If you want everything, you must understand that you cannot do that physically. It can only happen in a dimension beyond physical, because physicality exists only because of defined boundaries. But there is something within you which doesn't like this boundary, which wants to stretch the boundary, stretch the boundary, stretch the boundary. You're looking for boundlessness, but you're not courageous enough or conscious enough to admit this. You want to go in installments. Now, what you're looking is for boundlessness. If you want boundlessness, it can never ever happen through physical means. So once it doesn't happen through physical means, now you use the most corrupted word called spiritual. Spiritual does not mean looking up, looking down, going here, going there. It simply means your experience of life transcended the limitations of being just physical. Because everything that's physical about you is an acquired quantity, isn't it? This is just a piece of this planet. What is up here is just a heap of impressions that you've gathered. So what you have acquired can be yours, can never be you. So this longing to have more money, more property, more pleasure, more something is not about those things. You are trying to find a dimension beyond physical nature, but because of constipation, it's not happening.
Well, I'm gonna take the liberty, Sadhguru, to do what I normally do on my television show, which is a rapid fire round.
Alright, so I'm gonna skip this part and I'll put the link in the description for this video that I did. I did this part in another video, so I'm just gonna put that in the link description below just because I've already done it. So I'll be right back. Alright, so I skipped that part, sorry. It's just that it's gonna make another video, probably, because I'm gonna be talking a lot, which I already done anyway. So it looks like I'm gonna split this up in two parts. We're gonna have about 20 more minutes into this one, and then we'll have the last 30 minutes on the next video. So let's go ahead and get started.
I think before we open questions to the house, it's integral for me to share that the last week that I spent reading about you and hearing everything that you had to say, so many people question you, including Juhi, who's in the house. It's been exhilarating, it's been enlightening, and more than anything else, I think it gave me a certain sense of understanding about where I am. Being at a crossroad of my life emotionally, and also now as a newfound parent, I read some of what you had to say about even parenting. To me, it was extremely enlightening to read that that not to nurture the do's and don'ts so strongly on your child. You know, we all have theories of parenting.
Oh, fantastic. The reason why I agree, don't get me wrong, I think parents do teach do's and don'ts to a certain degree. Like, don't put your hand in fire. Don't touch a hot stove. That I do believe, obviously, the more common sense type things, but the idea that you to imprint yourself onto your kids in a manner of how you think the way they think, I think is wrong for the most part. And that's what I see a lot of people are doing in America. The extremes, the left and right, they'll, in a sense, imprint their mind onto another. I don't know if that's the right terminology. They'll basically make their child think like them. They will tell them what to do, what not to do, what to think, what not to think, and not just tell the child to, research, think for yourself. I can give my opinion, but you must formulate your own. You must judge for yourself whether my opinion is right or wrong. And making children think. There's memes online about NPC. I don't know if that's something global. I'm sure memes are global, but I just don't know whether it's prevalent in certain areas or not. But to explain, NPC means non-playable characters in computer games. And basically, these non-playable characters just basically say certain phrases over and over again because they're not really important characters in the game necessarily. So they just have a few lines that they say when you interact with them, and that's all. And that's what I see people doing in America, the extremes. They're just basically creating NPCs where they just repeat the same things they've been told over and over again without any kind of backing, and that is a big problem. I'm sorry, that again, another problem I see in America from the extremes, both left and right. And I wonder if he's going to get into that.
But I think just what I imbibe from what you had to say is that if I'm strong-willed and I exude a certain amount of pleasantness and I give out the right amount of energies, my child and my children will emulate that, imbibe that, and I don't have to constantly force feed that knowledge on them. They will imbibe it from my energy source in any case. That is what I drew. Am I right?
No.
Ouch! Good Lord, Sadhguru. It's not the feed them the energy of curiosity, to seek knowledge for themselves, to gather information, to consider what people say, but never take it as fact. Something I always say again, and I hope everyone out there does that. Don't ever think of anything I say as fact. Most of the stuff I'm talking about is the personal stuff that I've gathered, and that's the best I can do. I'm not the freaking dictionary, or I'm not Google, or anything like that. So you definitely have to do your research, no matter who says it, no matter if they're coming from an authoritative figure. Please do the research for yourself.
Okay.
See,
I hope what I said is right.
one level right.
Yeah.
But it's not a question of energy, and don't make simple aspects of life mystical, because my entire life is dedicated to make mystical very approachable. But generally in the society, people are trying to make simple aspects of life mystical. Rearing a child is not a mystical dimension of life. It's… millions of people have done it. For thousands of generations, people have done it. We are not reinventing anything here. It's just a simple biological process. Every creature does it. A bird is teaching its offspring to, find the worm, and the worm is teaching its offspring to escape the bird. All kinds of things are happening in their own way. Similarly, human beings are doing it, but as we get more educated, we become more fussy about it. There was a time that a whole lot of parents had 8, 10 children. They did not even know their names, number one, number two, they called them. But they grew up somehow. They just provided the basic ecosystem and they just grew up. So let's not make it too whatever, because you can easily because today is a time of just one child or two children, and we become totally, overly emotional about what is ours, and we lose perspective of what is the reality. A child will grow up anyway. If they're nourished, they will grow up. Now, what should they grow up as? Should they grow up confused? Should they grow up strong? Should they grow up stable? Should they become sage-like? Should they become something else? That's a question. What they should become in the world is a social issue. That will be decided by the times in which they grow up and the exposure that they have. Now you become a filmmaker, not because you're intrinsically a filmmaker, because you're in Mumbai, you come from that kind of family and the atmosphere around you is like that, naturally you choose that. Suppose you were somewhere else, let's say 1,000 years ago you were somewhere else, would you be thinking of filmmaking? No, you would be thinking something else. So what we do in our lives is just a circumstantial thing. Let's not read too much into it. The question is, when we have children, how complete and joyful and wonderful are they? Because every life is aspiring not to do this or that. Every life is aspiring only to become a full-fledged life, that's all. Whether it's a worm, insect or plant or tree, they're only aspiring to become a full-fledged life. There is no other aspiration in life, including ourselves. Only problem with the human being is, we know what is a full-fledged worm, we know what is a full-fledged mango tree, but we don't know what is a full-fledged human being. This is the only problem. My work is just this, to make people perceive, not understand. You must understand the difference or the distinction between perceiving, experiencing and understanding. Not understand, but perceive and experience what it means to be a full-fledged human being. And that's all that must happen to your children and every other children, every other child on the planet. What should happen? They must become full-fledged life, that's all. For this, they need an ecosystem and nourishment, not teaching from another time, because you belong to another time, you're past. You may not like it, I'm not saying as a director you're past, I'm saying in terms of time compared to your children, you're past, okay? So one important thing that we need to do when we have children is not to help them not to get overly identified with us. This is to make an investment, heavy investment, child means, but not expect any return. This is difficult for a stock market world. How to make an investment without return?
But that's easy. You know, you buy something, and then all of a sudden the value of whatever you buy drops. There. You buy something and then all of a sudden you got less money.
But this is what bringing up a child means. You want to make a heavy investment, no return expected. This is all. If you want to… because I've… in raising my girl, I won't go into the lengthy affair, but I made sure nobody teaches her anything, nor did I teach her anything.
Whoa.
No 1, 2, 3, no ABC, no Mary had a little lamb, because I don't care whether Mary had a lamb or not, you know. People said, Sadhguru, the way you are bringing up this girl, she won't know how many fingers she has. I said, I don't care whether she knows how many fingers she has, as long as she knows how to use her fingers. Why should she know this is 10? She thinks this is 100. Actually, this used to happen. When she was just… because I just exposed her to nature. As much as possible, I exposed… if there is nothing else, at least I took her up on the terrace and showed her the stars, which you can't do in Mumbai. You will show other kinds of stars in Mumbai. Okay. So, she would look up at the sky and say… she would call me by name, first name, and say, Jaggi, 10 stars. Because in her mind, the biggest number is 10. Somewhere she heard 10.
Yeah.
So she didn't say million, she said 10. I said, yes, 10. What is the problem? Whether a 10 stars or 10 billion stars, what is your problem? You think you're very knowledgeable because you know there are 100 billion galaxies. In what way does it matter whether there are 100 billion or there are none? What way does it matter? Because you are not seeing stars, you are only seeing the reflection in your mind, isn't it? If you spend time to know the nature of what makes you experience all this. So, she asked me once something, so I just told her just this is all you need to know about life. Never look up to anybody. She looked at me like this. I said, not even me, because the value of me will be completely lost the day you look up to me. You must look at me just as I am, then you will see immense value for who I am. If you look up to me, you will miss everything and one day you want to hang me on your wall. As you did to everybody else, to Rama, Krishna, Buddha, Shiva, everybody, you hang them on your wall, you will hang me also on your wall. You will miss the entire value, you missed all those guys. Now you will miss me also. You must look at me just the way I am. Never look up to anybody, never look down on anybody. This is all.
Interesting. I would have said, and I wonder now, actually, whenever he said that, it's the fact that I'm wondering if learning about these sciences and counting and all of these things are distracting us of how to live our life. I don't like to look at it that way, because if you're going to interact with the world today, you have to know certain things. You're going to have to know how to count. You don't want to get ripped off. You don't want to realize that all of a sudden you're working for, say, $2 a month. That's not good. You need to there's certain things in life that you should definitely understand, but at the same time, whenever you said, just to experience the experience you're having, it's in your mind, which made me think then, because we're sitting there worrying about the external world, that experience internally is constantly being distracted by the external world, which is very fascinating, very interesting. And I just thought about that at that moment whenever he said that. I'm like, holy, And this is something that other gurus and Swami has said about how we're constantly being distracted, looking outwards for a lot of things instead of looking inwards. The Sadhguru said that one. And also Swami Sarvapri, well, most of them anyway, let's put it that way. But yes, and we're always so distracted by the external that we never look internal, because we're never taught internally, we're always taught externally. And like I said, I wonder if that's the reason why we never look inwards, because we're so constantly, I've always acknowledged that we're always so constantly distracted by external things, but for some odd reason that made it click whenever he said that he didn't teach his child about ABCs or 1, 2, 3s, nor how to count. And these things are, I'm wondering if these things are prohibiting us from looking inwards, which would be terrible. Because, I guess because I want it to be that one thing is necessary for these things for us to survive in the external world, but these things are not necessary to look inwards. Again, I'm a compromising type of person, and I hope that I don't know. I don't know what I don't know what his child is like. I hope she's doing well in the world and understands things in the world. She could very well be living a very happy life, but I hope she's not being, taken advantage of in terms of the world, because she hasn't been taught about these things. It's really interesting, very interesting to have that thought all of a sudden in my mind of what Sadhguru is talking about.
Once you do not look up to anything or look down on anything, you will see everything just the way it is. If you see everything just the way it is, you will navigate your life, through life, effortlessly.
That's true. That is simple theory and easy enough to live by. Thank you. Thank you, Sadhguru. With that, I think I would like to open the questions up to the house, and I'm sure we have a volley of questions which I can already see hands.
Okay, we're gonna actually go back. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm Gonna make my final statements and end the video. So that is a simple theory and easy enough to live by. No, it's not. It should be. It really should be, but it's not. And I do agree. If you have no biases, this is what I think of whenever I said you'll see everything. Once you do not look up to anything or look down on anything, that's generally speaking, I think in my mind, or how I'm understanding it, is knowledge. Because when you start obtaining knowledge, you start thinking highly of yourself. Because you start knowing things, and by knowing that you know things, you think highly of yourself. You start looking down upon some things, and you'll see everything. You will see everything just the way it is. So if you have no biases in the world, this statement will be absolutely true. You will see everything just the way it is. My only fear is I watched what is it? A YouTube show with the Amish people. The Amish people, as far as I understand, they live their life very, no electricity, I believe, or very limited, and they live a very humble life, I think. Not a lot of gadgets, not a lot of anything, I think. Last I remember. I don't know if they've changed now or not, but from what I remember, basically they live a very poverty-ish life, I believe. Again, not a lot of money. Everything is basically non-technology, so they're doing the old-fashioned ways. But the children, I think when they turn 18 or a certain age, to get 1 year where they're given a lot of money to go out into the world and live the world. They basically get 1 year free pass to do whatever they want, and then they come back, and then they have to make a choice to whether to live in the world or to live in an Amish life, to go back into their Amish life. But when they go back into their Amish life, they no longer can do what they want anymore. They have to stay strictly to the Amish code, I believe. But my problem with that is it's very unfair. It's like imagining that you've never seen the ocean, and you've only seen it on pictures maybe, and you never went swimming. You don't know how to swim. All of a sudden they just shove you into the ocean and say good luck for 1 year. That's what it's like, in my opinion, because you don't know if you're gonna know how to swim or not. You don't know how to navigate the ocean. You don't know how to look at the stars to find out where you need to go to get back to land. So throwing these children out into the world unprepared is not a good thing. So that's the kind of my thought with Sadhguru about not teaching his daughter about these things. While again, I do agree to what he says. When you have an unbiased view, you will see things just the way they are. 100% agree. But when she becomes an adult, if she's not taught about certain basic things, she may be getting taken advantage of, and that's what I do fear. And I just hope that never ever happens to her or anyone else, honestly. But it just reminds me of the Amish people throwing their child who's never been to the real world. They only ever looked at the Amish life, and then all of a sudden, once 18, they kick them out. Say you got 1 year to determine whether you want to stay Amish or not. The entire life they've been Amish. 1 year they get kicked out into the world. They don't know how to spot the dangers of the world. They don't. Well, they have at least education in there. They know how to count. They know how to do their whatever, because they do family business too. So they have at least some advantages, but they don't know what a cheater is, whether it's be cheating their finances, telling them lies. They don't know if there's bad people in the world, maybe, or don't know how to spot like bad things in the world. They don't know the rules of the world. They don't know a lot of things that could help them navigate the world. That's my problem. But again, I guess I kind of want to come to a middle ground to where you still teach someone certain things about life, and also to try to not to have as much of a biased point of view, so that you can see everything just the way it is. And this is where I say, obviously everyone's going to have biases, but to acknowledge that bias and to make sure that that bias doesn't hinder you for seeing things the way they are. They always will, but as much as possible for it not to affect the way you see things. When you can maybe get a grip on that, I think then no matter how much biases you have, if you can have control over your biases, you can make better decisions. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying that you're not going to make mistakes. That's something that you have to take with responsibility in your actions, with your biases. Because again, the second that you learn anything, the second she says 10 up in the sky, that's already a bias. As little bias as that is, it is still a bias. I mean, anything that you learn is a bias, in my opinion. I think I've not thought that through, but break that theory if you want in the comments below. But generally speaking, the more that you learn, the more knowledgeable you become, the more biased you become. It's just the nature of learning, of knowledge, I guess. But having knowledge and being able to control it is, I think, in my opinion, the way to go. That way you don't have out of control biases. You rein in the control of that bias. I keep saying bias too much. I think it's time to end the video. Alright, so this is the end of this part. And again, I will link the Q&A that I did some time ago in the description below. And also the original video, by the way. So if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.